Yep, that's right. I was bullied for over 12 years whilst I was at school, but I did not let it dictate me and my life, and I want to share in this video how I got over it and how I succeeded to get a PhD and gratefully many more things in recent years. So I'll be honest, I don't particularly have great memories of being at school. A lot of it is plagued by the bullying, the feeling loneliness, depressed, sad, all of those feelings that unfortunately many people go through, some even more severe than what I did. But when I look back at school, especially from primary school, secondary school, I was bullied a lot, and I don't really enjoy looking back at those moments. So some, odd good bits, some good friends I'm still in contact with, but a lot of it wasn't great and it wasn't pleasant, and it's something I try not to think about too much because it's riddled and plagued with many forms of bullying, unfortunately. I was always the outside kid. I wasn't the popular one, the cool one. I didn't really fit in many circles. It felt like I was, but when I look back now, it wasn't actually a great time of my life, and it's scary to think of what life was then, and looking back now, how life is now. But you might be wondering, what were you bullied for? Now, believe it or not, I was actually born with speech and listening difficulties. So I had very slurred speech, very fast speech. I used to spit when I was talking quite a lot, and you can imagine at school that's not a very impressive or popular trait to have. And I was bullied a lot for that, and there were many knock-on effects as a result of that. So I wasn't very popular. Not many people wanted to hang around with me that I thought. I did have friends. I'm not saying I was sitting on the corner where unfortunately some people were, but didn't really fit in. I wasn't the popular one. I did used to get bullied by so-called friends back then, throughout school, throughout even college, to a point where I didn't really fit in, and because of what I used to be, I was trying to be somebody else then as to compensate. So because of that early phase of, especially at primary school, I used to overcompensate when secondary school and college to try and fit in, to try and be maybe known or important or valued. And I wasn't really being myself. I was trying to chase things that didn't need to be chased. I was trying to be somebody I didn't really want to be. And that all came as a result of that bullying phase very early on in my primary school days. So for those who are in the UK, US, when you're kind of in kindergarten, so when you're probably around 5 to about 10 years old, that's when a lot of it occurred, and it did affect me throughout my teenage years. But I look back now and realize who I am now, how I am now, and realize there's a lot of lessons that I've learned in the past couple of years that have changed the way I am, and geared me to hopefully a better life. And I really wanted to share those advices here in this video. So what did I actually do to transform myself? What did I learn from that bullying phase and those unpleasant moments and memories? How did I actually come about it? Number one, I took control of my own thought process of what I believe in. That whole self-belief and self-awareness started to grow a lot more throughout my university years and then in my PhD years. And what I mean by this is that back in the day, when somebody had an opinion of me, when somebody said something hurtful of me, I used to believe it to be true. I used to believe it as facts. So when whatever somebody's opinion was, I used to convert it into what I thought was factual information, because if they're saying it, it must be true. And there was no room for what I thought of myself. And it was crazy to think that there was literally no self-belief back then. So if somebody now has a problem with me or an opinion of me, some might say, I think you're fake, or you're, trying to be a celebrity, or this or that, whatever it is related to what I do now. I'll be like, okay, I know who I am. If that's what you think, I'm not going to apologize, because that's not who I am. But you're entitled to your opinion, and that's how you feel. That's fine. Move on. A massive mindset shift to how I used to be, where I used to try and defend myself, because I said, no, I'm not this, I'm not that. But I used to succumb to that person's level. I don't do that anymore. I don't waste time on somebody else's opinion. And that's a big part of what my life is now. Number two is all about reverse engineering the hate and the hurtful comments. When I used to be bullied a lot, I used to take it. I used to succumb to it, used to burden me. That's all I used to think about 24/7 is what people were saying about me. But I didn't maybe utilize those hate or that negativity in a positive way. I didn't channel it anywhere. And when I was doing my PhD, that's something I actively tried to do, and I didn't actually do it quite well. So when people were, accusing me that you're not going to finish your PhD, I mentioned a lot of this on my Instagram page. Aamir.PhD if you want to follow. And what I did was, if you think I'm not going to do a PhD, I'm just going to work even harder. Not to prove it to you, because I have nothing to prove to you. I have no desire to wake up and say, do you know what, I want to prove you wrong. Because it's not about you. I'm not going to give you any flowers from me. I'm just going to work even harder. If you think I'm not capable, I'm just going to work even harder. If you think I'm not good enough, I'm just going to work even harder. So I used it as fuel. Not that I needed more, but it was a bonus. It just drove me to work harder, to be more passionate, more motivated, more disciplined. So that negativity and the bullyingness that I had, even in my PhD, and looking back and when I was a kid, is now become fuel for me to work even harder, and me to prove to myself that I'm more than capable of what I am now. Number three was I actually started to talk to myself more. Now, if I'm not going to be my biggest fan, how is anybody else going to be? And I realized that a lot in the past couple of years, where I started to talk to myself in terms of, you are capable, like these kind of affirmations, if you want to call it that. Me thinking about, do you know what, you've done a lot, you've accomplished a lot. So celebrating the small wins, talking to myself, do you know what, you could do this, take a break. And I started to have conversations with myself to overcome any kind of negative feelings I was having. And I didn't do that before. I used to allow what was said to me to manifest me, instead of actually talking to myself to say, don't listen to them, it's fine, carry on with what you're doing. Be true to yourself. So that self-worth, self-respect, self-belief, and self-awareness, a lot of these kind of self-attributes were never there when I was bullied a lot, but are there now as kind of reinforcements and force fields to keep me strong, to keep me disciplined and focused. Despite the barrage of negativity that I might face and many others might face, even if you're watching, you might be going through a lot, even more than what I did. So these kind of self-attributes became really good armor, and still to this day, to keep me going, to keep me pushing forward. And lastly, number four is the notion of not relying on anybody. There's a very famous Mel Robbins quote, I can try to put it up here if I can, which is, nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to help you. Very famous words from Mel Robbins. And that really resonated with me many years ago, and still to this day, where I'm not trying to rely on people for company, for help. Again, you go through life and you do get help from others, but you're not relying on it, or you're not going seeking out of your way for it. Do everything you can, and if there are moments where you can't, fine, you seek help. But back in the day, when I was being bullied, I used to hope, I used to rely on somebody else's happiness or somebody else to help me get out this, or going to somebody and thinking they will fix my problems. I don't think about that anymore. I don't think anybody's here to fix my problems or to fix my worries. It's down to me and me alone. And being so relentless and driven in that thought process really overcame a lot of negativity, because it used to bounce off. Because I didn't care, and still I don't care what people think in that context, because I'm so focused in terms of tunnel vision to what I want to achieve in life, what I want to do, what I want to help, what I want to strive for, that this doesn't really affect me much. And that came as a result of this notion of, I'm not going to seek help. So even if you have a problem with me, doesn't matter, because I'm so focused on me. And that's what I mean by me not asking for help, meant I was more focused on me. More focused on me, meaning a lot of stuff didn't actually affect me as much as it used to when I was kind of spread thin. So focusing more on yourself and realizing, take care of you. Look after yourself. Take care of you. You do you. That really reverse engineered and literally paradigm shifted the way I was approaching life and the way life was back then. None of that happened, so I would just succumb to bullying and meaningful comments and helpful comments. And now it's a lot better, because as I mentioned in this video, I have a PhD in vascular pharmacology. As you can see here, I've achieved a lot on Instagram and YouTube. I've helped so many people and researchers. I've won awards, thankfully, when I was a PhD student. Even though that was 3 years ago, I still feel it's resonant to a lot of people who are now starting a PhD. If I can go from being bullied to become a PhD graduate, so can you. So I'm hopeful that this story helps you and inspires you the way it still does for me, because my biggest weakness, self-confidence, slurred speech, became my greatest strength. I'm now making YouTube videos, making all sorts of videos across social media. You probably wouldn't have thought that I had a speech and listening difficulty. I trained myself for many years to be able to speak coherently so you can understand what I'm saying. If I can go from that to this, what's stopping you doing the same? I'll leave on that note. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the story. Go out and now make your own. Speak soon. Take care.